So this is video number 7 in a series of 9 to help you with the number patterns question in the IB exam. So this sometimes happens. You get a weird rule that involves a fraction, and you can sort of see the pattern in the fraction. And we've got enough to go on there to realize that the numerator is always going to be 1 in these fractions, and then the denominators are, well, something's happening with the denominators. Something's not happening with my pen at the moment as I'm trying to make it work. There we go. There we go. So 6, 12, 18, 24. We can see those denominators are increasing by 6 every time. So we can make the predictions for the subsequent terms. 30, 36. I think my pen needs recharging. 42, 48, and so on. So patterns in words. The numerator, or the top number of, what do I call it this time, W, is always 1. The denominator of W increases by 6 every time. So those are two good patterns in words. When you get something that involves a fraction, it's often been the case that you can write a good pattern in words about the numerator and a good pattern in words about the denominator. Okay, well, let's focus on the denominator, the bottom of the fraction, and we can see that it goes up by 6 every time. So that gives us a big clue that there's something to do with 6n in the rule for the denominator, because every time the n goes up by 1, the denominator goes up by 6. So if the rule was just 6n, then the first one would be 6 times 1, 6. The second one would be 6 times 2, 12. The third one would be 6 times 3. And the fourth one would be 6 times 4. And so on. And we can see that, in fact, those are just the denominators. So if the rule 6n gives us the denominators, then 1 over 6n gives us a 6th, a 12th, an 18th, a 24th, which are the numbers we want. So algebraic rule, W is always equal to 1 over 6n is our rule in this case. Don't forget to write it as something equal to something else, and not just the term on its own. Okay, so as before, we're going to test and verify that. So when n equals 3, my rule says W equals 1 over 6n, which is 1 over 6 times 3, which is 1 over 18, and that matches the value in the table. So we can write this matches the value in the table. And making that observation is often worth a mark, so it's a silly mark to lose if you don't get it. And then verifying it is just doing the same thing but a little bit further up the table for one of the values where you had to make a prediction. When n equals 7, my rule says W equals 1 over 6n, which is 1 over 6 times 7, which is 1 over 42. I wouldn't normally do it all on a straight line like that, but I'm running out of space a little bit. And 1 over 42 matches our value in the table, so we can once again make that comment. This matches the value in the table, so I'll just copy and paste that. This matches that didn't quite go to plan. Get rid of that. if I can. Click that, do that. Boom. This matches the value in the table, and then we're pretty good for that question in a relatively short time for hopefully a big chunk of marks.